It is truly impossible to mess up this bread recipe. If you like your bread crunchy on the outside, but soft and pillowy and full of air holes on the inside, then this recipe is for you. The best part is that it only uses 3 ingredients, and the stretch and fold method that I'm going to show you makes this so easy anybody can do it. In a big bowl, you're going to combine your water and your yeast, and you're going to mix that together. Next, you'll throw in your salt and you'll mix again. Just ignore all those rumors about salt killing yeast because there's enough water in this mixture to dilute it down. I promise your bread will rise just fine. Next, I'm going to add in my flour. I'm using bread flour here, but you can use all-purpose flour. The main difference between the two is that bread flour has a higher protein content in it, which affects the bread by creating a stronger, chewier texture with a higher rise due to more gluten development. If that made no sense to you, all you need to remember is that bread flour is going to give you that crunchy outside crust and a soft, pillowy inside, and using all-purpose flour is going to give you a softer outside and a soft but more condensed inside without all those big air bubbles. Now, if you follow the measurements of this recipe, your dough will turn out different depending on the brand and the type of flour that you use. So just remember that you want your dough to be sticky just like this. If it's not, then just add a little bit of water, 1 tablespoon at a time until it gets that texture. Now, there's no need to knead this dough. See what I did there? You're just going to cover it, set a timer for 30 minutes, and come back for your first round of stretch and folds. Get your hand wet with water to make your dough easier to manage. Take one side of the dough, lift and stretch, and fold it to the other side. Give the bowl a quarter turn and repeat your stretch and fold. You want to do about 4 folds per session. Then you're going to cover your dough, set another timer for 30 minutes, come back and do it again. Now let's talk a little bit about why we're doing the stretch and fold. This method helps the dough start to develop gluten faster so that you can enjoy your bread in a couple hours instead of having to wait all day or overnight like some recipes. As you're doing your multiple sessions of stretch and folds, you're gradually creating more and more tension within the dough. As we're doing the stretching, we're creating these bubbles within the dough that start expanding due to the yeast fermentation that's happening. By creating all this tension within the dough, we're making a dough that can support its own weight as the dough expands in the oven. Without all the stretching and folding, the dough simply just won't be able to hold its own weight and it won't rise as much. You'll notice that every time I take the towel off to do another stretch and fold, the dough is bigger and essentially stronger. You just can't see that part. After a couple of hours, you would have completed 4 rounds of stretch and folds. After your last round, cover your bowl and go grab your Dutch oven. Dutch ovens create the best environment for baking this bread. It creates a humid environment to allow the bread to rise before the crust sets. You will preheat your oven to 420 degrees and stick your Dutch oven in the oven while it's preheating to get it nice and piping hot. When you take your Dutch oven out of the oven, I like to keep my pot holders actually on the handles because it's really easy to forget that it's piping hot and you can accidentally grab it. Add a light layer of flour to the bottom of your Dutch oven so the dough doesn't stick, and simply just pick up your dough and put it inside. No need to form it. Now I'm going to use just a pair of kitchen scissors to cut a slit at the top of the dough. We do this to have some sort of control on the way the dough expands as it's baking in the oven. Without doing this, your dough could potentially burst while it's baking and it'll just ruin the form of your perfect bread. Now this is going into that 420 degree oven covered for about 30 minutes. Now take the top off, lower your oven to 400 degrees and stick it back in the oven for 15, 20, or 30 minutes depending on how dark you want your crust. We're making grilled cheese to dunk into our tomato soup tonight, so I'm going for a super dark, crispy crust. This loaf was left in for another 25 minutes. Now you're going to let your loaf cool on a wired rack. Using a wired rack is important because you want there to be airflow underneath the bread as it cools. Let it cool for at least 30 to 45 minutes. You want to make sure the center of the bread is really set. Now just listen to this crunch. Doesn't that sound delicious? Now, the key to cutting great slices of bread is to get a really sharp serrated knife and keep a heavy hand and a strong wrist and just go straight down. Because of all the stretch and folds we did, you see those nice, huge air bubbles that makes the inside of this dough fluffy, airy, and the perfect bread that you will make over and over again. This is the perfect loaf to slice up and just put on the dinner table with some delicious butter, or you can do what we're doing tonight and make the most delicious grilled cheese sandwiches that have a crispy outside and a soft, gooey, cheesy inside. Promise me you'll try this bread recipe.